Everyone is lying about their side hustle. Or, to be fair, they're probably lying to themselves. You've likely seen the videos. Someone pointing at a screen, claiming they made $200 in 4 hours driving for a delivery app or doing freelance design. $50 an hour. It makes you want to quit your lazy weekend routine, grab your keys, and start printing money. But when you sit down, grab a napkin, and do the actual, boring, real-life math, that $50 an hour shrinks. In many cases, these highly profitable ventures pay less than the entry-level job at the fast food drive-thru down the street. The gig economy thrives by masking massive operational expenses behind a single attractive revenue number. When you work a regular job, your boss pays for the office, the computer, the electricity, and the awful coffee in the break room. You show up, perform the labor, and collect a paycheck. Take Dave's situation. He wants some extra cash, so he signs up to drive for a ride-sharing app. He works a 5-hour Saturday night shift and sees a total of $150 in the app. Dave divides that $150 by 5 and sees $30 an hour. He goes to sleep feeling like he's mastered the system. But Dave is looking at revenue, not profit. We have to start with the visible costs. For this shift, Dave spent $20 on gas. His earnings dropped to $130, pulling his hourly rate down to $26. By starting a side hustle, Dave has become a micro-corporation. He is the boss, he is the worker, and the infrastructure provider. And as the owner, he is now responsible for every cent of the operational overhead. The heavy lifting of gig work often relies on a quiet, invisible withdrawal from the future value of your personal assets. Every mile Dave drives wears down his tires, his brakes, and his transmission. He's accelerating the timeline for his next oil change and lowering the eventual resale price of his car. The IRS estimates that every mile you drive costs roughly 67 cents in total vehicle expenses. Using a conservative estimate of 30 cents a mile for Dave's older car, a 100-mile night means he just spent $30 of his car's value. He doesn't see it on his bank statement tomorrow, but the cost will arrive when he has to pay for a brake job or new tires. Dave is left with $75 of actual spendable wealth. After 5 hours of work, his $30 hourly rate has been cut in half to $15 an hour. Ignoring long-term asset depreciation and tax obligations creates a false sense of wealth that vanishes the moment the bills for maintenance and the IRS come due. If you want to see more financial breakdowns that skip the hype and stick to the math, tap the subscribe button. It helps the channel reach more people. Dave's $15 an hour is already a low return, but it assumes he actually worked 5 hours. Apps only track the time you are performing a task. They don't count the time spent cleaning the car, driving to high-demand zones, or waiting in a parking lot for the next request. Real profitability requires measuring in net pay against every minute of logistical time invested, not just the moments the app says you're earning. He spent 20 minutes vacuuming the floor mats, making sure the car was spotless. Then came another 20 minutes just driving across town to reach the busy districts, before he even accepted his first ride. And throughout the night, he spent 30 total minutes sitting idle in empty parking lots and traffic, waiting for his phone to ping. Fast forward to the end of the year, and he will spend a good 5 or 6 hours pulling his hair out trying to figure out his independent contractor tax deductions. All of that effort is work, but none of it is paid. In the gig economy, you only get paid when a passenger is in the car, or a delivery is in your hands. You don't get paid for the downtime. This financial ledger breaks down the actual numbers. If we add up his prep time, his wait time, and his administrative time, a standard 5-hour shift is actually a 6.5-hour commitment. So we take that $75 of true after-tax profit and divide it by 6.5 hours. His real hourly wage drops to $11.53. He started the night bragging about making $30 an hour, but he ended it making less than he would behind a cash register. Except a cash register job doesn't require him to slowly destroy his own vehicle. Curious tone, this exact same math applies to the laptop lifestyle. Let's say you decide to become a freelance video editor, and you get a client to pay you $500 for a project. You estimate the editing will take you 10 hours, $50 an hour. This horizontal bar chart represents that assumption, starting with a clean block of 10 paid hours at $50 an hour. But this ignores the phantom hours. You have to add the 3 hours spent emailing back and forth to land the client, and the 2 hours of uncompensated revisions. Then you factor in the expensive software subscription you had to buy, the internet bill, and the self-employment tax. Suddenly, all that administrative friction and overhead collapses your rate. That $50 an hour is actually $22 an hour. Or look at physical side hustles, like flipping furniture. You buy a dresser at a thrift store for 20 bucks. You sand it, paint it, and sell it for 120 bucks. You look at that $100 margin and feel like a business genius. Except you spent an hour driving to the thrift store, an hour driving to the hardware store for sandpaper and paint, and 3 hours doing the actual physical labor. Then you spent 2 hours dealing with people on Facebook Marketplace asking, is this still available, and never responding again. You spent 7 hours of your free time to make $100, minus the 20 bucks for paint. You made $11 an hour, and your garage is covered in sawdust. Whether it is driving, editing, or building, the equation rarely works in your favor, unless you charge a massive premium for your services. The math of a side hustle is rigged against you. Digital platforms and freelance apps rely on your bad math. They need you to look at the gross revenue and feel a sense of success. Because while you focus on the top line, they absorb the profits, taking zero of the financial risk and paying zero of the operational expenses. But there is one final cost, and it is the most expensive one of all. Economists call it opportunity cost. In simple words, it just means, what else could you have done with that time? If you spend 15 hours a week grinding out a side hustle for an actual profit of $12 an hour, you are giving up the chance to use those 15 hours to learn a high-income skill. You could be taking a coding course or earning a professional certification. This line graph maps out the trade-off. On the bottom, you have the slow, flat growth of a $12 an hour gig. Above it, the trajectory of getting a $20,000 raise at your main job. An extra $20,000 there doesn't require self-employment tax, and it doesn't put miles on your car. Or what if you just used those 15 hours to sleep? Without rest, you end up completely burned out and performing terribly at your primary job. Because a higher salary compounds over the rest of your career, sacrificing that potential to work a cheap, low-yield job is the most expensive financial decision you can make. If you need cash to keep the lights on, you do what you have to do. Gig work is incredibly flexible, and that flexibility is genuinely valuable. And if you have a side hustle that you can eventually scale, where you hire other people to do the manual labor, or sell a digital product 1,000 times with no extra effort, that's a completely different story. That is building equity. But if you are permanently trading your time for a flat fee on an app, or manually making things one by one for a tiny margin, you need to sit down and do the real math. There is a very good chance you aren't running a profitable business. You are just liquidating your assets, stressing yourself out, and selling your free time at a massive discount. Do the math, protect your time, and remember that the top line is vanity.